All right, we are live now. So, hello everyone. This is our first Ask Me Anything session with me, Sara El-Ateif. And I am a Google developer expert in machine learning. I'm also a Google PhD fellow. And additionally, I'm doing my PhD in NCS. It's a Moroccan school.
Yeah.
And my PhD is around AI applied to health. So today we have Benjamin, which is actually our actual MC, the person who is hosting this. So welcome, Benjamin. Please introduce yourself and you can shoot away with the questions you have.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Benjamin Rukundo. I'm from Uganda, Kampala. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. Currently, I'm in my last semester of my undergraduate degree, doing a Bachelor of Science in Software Engineering. And I've also been a research assistant at my lab in my university where I'm from. Well, today's topic is about asking Sarah about her journey and how it has been. And I've been following her for some time and her work, and I really had the chance to, get to ask her a few questions here and learn about her journey. Yeah. So Sarah, thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. I think let's dive in straight to the few questions I had.
Go ahead.
And I think I'll start with, how was it getting started into this field, and what was your point of like turning to be like, oh, now I need to dive into AI and yeah, specifically the medical imaging field. Yeah.
So actually, I remember making decision back in the early 2016. This was like practically the time when, businesses started figuring out how they could use AI and why they would need it. So there were lots of ads
Mm,
about it, like artificial intelligence, big data, and all of that jazz. That's
mm,
how actually I remember actually watching a series. It's
yeah.
a Korean drama where
Okay.
actually like the person was analyzing crime scenes but using like data points. So he wasn't having a laptop in front of him, but he was analyzing, like just quickly analyzing using his brain the different data points. And it was like, that will be really cool. That will be something I would be interested in doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was, with everyone talking about AI from the business field, over LinkedIn. And then with this coming up, I was like, yeah, it will be interesting. Let's, get to know what is this data thing,
Yeah.
and what kind of things I could be doing as a role, as
Yeah.
a business, as a professional role that would
Yeah.
allow me to do all of these things. That's how
Oh.
I discovered data science. And
Mm,
from there, I heard about big data. And one of the options we had in our engineering curriculum, like
yeah.
our last year, was this thing called big data engineering. So I was
Mm,
super excited, and I was like pushing over our coordinator. I was pushing her to release,
yeah.
to release that curriculum for us. So that's like kind of how it started. But like
Mm,
after that, and thanks to a program we had done, it's called SMI project,
mm,
where actually like you use your engineering skills to help people, solve a
yeah.
problem they have and bring a smile to their faces. I
Yeah.
figured out I wanted to, use my skills, my technology skills, and then later on my AI skills to do good. And from that, like I started volunteering in
Yeah.
AI for Good projects, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually
So
practically the journey.
yeah. So your background was initially like your bachelor's. What was it specifically?
Oh, it wasn't a bachelor. So in Morocco, we don't have something called bachelor. We have
Oh.
engineering schools. We have we have universities that actually provides you with license, master, and then doctorate degree. So this is like the kind of stuff we follow the French system. So I was
Yeah.
part of an engineering school, which is called SelfSeeker in
Okay.
Morocco, of course.
I remember you actually. I was watching one of the videos of AI in healthcare, one
Hmm.
where you were. and you hinted on a point of people getting into AI. They should kind of find a way of doing two dual courses. Let me say, if you want to specialize in medical imaging or into like health, they should maybe uh, do a program specifically to like health, as what they have a lot of domain knowledge in what they'll apply AI with. Yeah, I remember you hinted that.
Yeah, it's actually like, like one of the things usually that happens is that when you're trying to learn something, at a
Mm,
certain points you might get tired of learning the same thing, right? Especially if you don't see results in front of you. Like,
mm,
5 years after, you will get tired of learning about that subject. So one of the biggest and easiest way for you to anchor it and see results and keep improving yourself is to actually figure out what you really like. So if you're
mm,
interested, if let's say, for example, healthcare is something that calls out to you, and you feel like there is a need for us to do some kind of change or bring some kind of solutions to improve it, like something that really that appeals to you, and you're ready to invest anything you have to keep doing it. That might be like art, right? That might be
yeah, yeah.
anything. So if you can figure out what you really like and tie AI to it, because AI is just a tool, right? It can solve any kind of problem in any kind of industry. So if you
Mm,
tie it to something that you really like, it's going to be easier to keep learning, keep improving, and doing your best. And obviously, it's also going to be easier for your brand. Like if you want to build a personal brand, or if you want to be recognized as an expert in AI X, that is
yeah.
going to be easier for you.
Mm. Then, what key decisions did you take? Because I believe before you decided to do AI, there's something you're doing, maybe currently at that moment, and to being TensorFlow developer lead group, to PhD, yeah,
So actually, like before I wanted to do this AI thing, in my third year. So usually in engineering in Morocco, we do 5 years, right? So the
yeah,
first 2 years are like preparatory classes, if you ever heard of them. It's full of maths and physics,
mm,
advanced mathematics. That's what we have in those 2 years. And then the
mm,
3 years are like the specialties. So for example, if you're doing computer science, it's going to be about software engineering, you know,
yeah,
kind of like anything related to computer science, the advanced side.
mm,
So at that time, in my third, the second year, about to go into the third year, that is like determine what kind of field I'm going to be specialized in.
yeah,
That's actually when I was exploring different things. So
mm,
I was interested in to explore cybersecurity. I was
yeah,
interested in like software development, how we develop applications. I tried different things. I just wanted to figure out what is the thing that I would find interesting and would be ready to contribute in and do every day, because that's like the question. If you're not ready to do that job, or
mm,
whatever field, if you're not ready to contribute to it every day, then there
yeah,
is a most highly likely chance that you're not going to be able to
mm,
continue doing it.
yeah.
So that's
Then,
like kind of, yeah. Go ahead.
mm, then I think I'll get to this. What kind of challenges and problems do you usually face when applying AI to healthcare? Say, like for COVID-19, I saw you had a project one time for, you know, COVID-19, then retinopathy. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the challenges are usually the same. There's
Mm,
no data.
yeah.
There's no publicly available data, which is like one of the most biggest issues I usually like have. So I need to rack my head, and then obviously like keep searching everywhere in Google to figure out where I can find the data I need. And then sometimes obviously the data I have, especially that in my thesis I am like tackling multimodal data. That means not only like, for example, an image from a specific scan, but like from different kind of medical imaging tools. So that's even more harder to find, like one patient having different Im- types of images. So that's like really hard, and that's where like most of the challenge is. So when I kind of like find something out, I find that only like, let's say for example, 50 instances. That's not anything for a machine learning for a machine learning model to learn, right? So what
Yeah.
I do is that I start getting creative on how I can improve the data. That is using data augmentation,
Mm.
tools. These days you can use generative AI, like
Yeah.
either the GANs or the diffusion models to augment the data. But
Yeah.
at the time, there were no diffusion models. And GANs, it takes a lot of time to generate good images with GANs. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of time, and it takes a lot of data to actually be able to generate anything good with it. So I had to, get creative on how I can augment the data. So these are like one of the challenges. The second challenge is that I did not have I did not have support to be able to afford GPUs. So I had to figure out ways to leverage at the time the collab that was obviously available for free. So I
Yeah.
created different accounts, trained on these different accounts.
Yeah.
But then, then Google made stuff difficult for us, and
Mm.
they started to limit, the instances you can actually access. So I
Yeah.
had to pay for Collab Pro for my own pockets.
Yeah.
And the challenges keep coming. So it's the main two challenges are around the data and the actual computational resources.
Yeah.
So if you can kind of like, if you have both of these covered, what is left is the challenge of the model you're going to build. So, when you're doing a thesis, one of the things you're supposed to do is either come up with a new model, like a new way of doing things, right? Or actually like test different things. That means like do experimentation to do some kind of benchmarking to know what
Yeah.
works best for a certain use case. Apart from the fact that both of these require a lot of data and a lot of computational resources, second thing is that sometimes, especially if you're doing something that is still a little bit new, so for example something like multimodality was not the hype in the beginning, like in 2020, it wasn't the hype. So there were lots of models explaining how you can actually merge different data into one model and have the model learn from it. So that's like the third challenge, kind of like
Yeah.
figure out how you can, from all the available information out there, how you can build the model that you need. And that requires like, you learn a lot from other people, you test if it works or not, and see like how the model is reacting. Is it giving you a good performance or a bad performance? And you debug all of that and you keep testing until you get it right.
Yeah. Then I think I'll come to this. How do you see the healthcare being transformed with AI in the years to come? Let's say in diagnosis, treatment, name it.
So one of the dreams in healthcare for AI is actually to be able to, have for every human being provide the best healthcare services, but mostly personalized. That means, for example, if I'm going to treat Benjamin, I'm going to read all of Benjamin's, healthcare folders or
Yeah.
records and see perhaps like you have some kind, obviously, God forbid, you have some
Yeah.
kind of special disease or something that is very rare.
Yeah.
I can, using AI, find the perfect, like, medicine or something to help you overcome that kind of issue, right? So this is
Yeah.
like the general goal. So this is where we are walking through, where we are walking with all of this research. If you check out the latest research right now, they are all talking about precision medicine or something like personalized care, healthcare. So what they want is that they want to figure out ways to actually be able to streamline access to excellent healthcare services. That means they're trying to figure out, let's say, for example, there is usually a device called let me just find one that is easier. Chest X-ray, for example,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The one we use for the rib cage and all of that. So
Yeah.
that one, although it's not expensive, it's not available everywhere. not everyone has access to it, right? So one of the things they are thinking, for example, of doing is to kind of like find a way to replace the chest X-ray. Is there any way we can use something else? Let's say, for example, we could analyze saliva or something, like analyze like voice, analyze another modality, so we
Yeah.
can get the same information from
Yeah.
this expensive tool. So this is like one
Mm.
of the things they're trying to do as well. Another thing they're trying to do really hard
Yeah.
is to kind of like reduce costs. That
Mm.
means, instead of one person having to go through, I don't know, 10 tests to come up to the
Yeah.
solution, how can we make this person go through one test and
Yeah.
get, the best information?
Yeah.
These kind of things.
Yeah.
So this is like
So
the
the
future. It's
okay.
reducing cost, improving quality of service, and
Yeah.
personalized it depending on the user, obviously, or the patient.
Oh, and I think I'll get to this too.
Hmm.
In terms of healthcare and let me see the research you're doing, how do you deal with the issues related to data privacy, the data quality, and the data set bias?
Well, I'm gonna be truthful. All of these things are present in my research, right? Bias, you name them all, they are present. So one of the things I do is that I try as much as I can to use like the techniques we have. That means regularization if it is appropriate,
Yeah. Yeah.
early stop, early stop, reduce learning rate on plateau. These are all to avoid overfitting. I use things like scaffold training, right? So when I'm testing on over different folds from different, from different like training sets. And then I try, like when I'm reporting my results, I report them on the test set, that not on the validation set, because I do split my data into 3 sets. I
Yeah.
report on the test set. And I report, like, for example, only the average of the folds I am working on.
Yeah.
I use statistical tests that kind of like help you figure out the significant differences between these models trained and all of that. So I try my best to reduce these kind of things, but
Yeah.
they are still present and they still affect the performance of the model. So for example, I let the readers know of
Yeah.
what we call the treats to validity. So, what
Mm.
might threaten this study, and what are the things you need to be aware of if you are ever thinking of replicating the same study. So, for example, I always encourage to train it on bigger data sets, more varied data sets,
Yeah.
during the end of the study. But yeah, most likely, so for example, for us, the goal is not exactly to provide the best model to do an actual diagnosis, but is to kind of see what are the models that can perform well, but obviously with all the same conditions. So all the models go through the same conditions. So if
Yeah.
they go through the same conditions, which one is better than the other ones we are comparing? So this is like the real goal. So things around the health perspective, we kind of do slack off on that part because that's not the
Yeah.
main focus.
Well, I'm going to drive you now a bit to more. Let me get to the question. As a woman in tech in a male predominantly predominant field, uh, what challenges have you faced, and how have you been able to overcome? And how do you plan to encourage more women, to join the field? And yeah.
Well, seeing as right now I'm not exactly like, working in a professional environment, I'm mostly working to do research. That is actually way easier than working in a business environment, right? So I have like actually most of the students of my professor are actually mainly women. He recruits mainly women. He says it's easier to talk to women and collaborate with them. Usually men's are harder to talk to. and to convince. So it's easier for him to work with women. So we have like mostly women in our team, although we do have men, but like we do have mostly women in the team. So I don't so the thing I saw, like, because like I have had the chance to go to different conferences in this field and like speak at different ones as well, I do see that there is very few women in the field, and mainly the problem is that they don't really they don't really understand how they can get into the field. So this is like one of the things that I believe everyone struggles with. It's just as usually men, they have kind of like an adventurous mindset. So they like learning, they like learning by doing. Women like learning things by following some kind of strategy. So when they don't have a clear strategy, they kind of like feel
Yeah.
it's walky and it's difficult to get into. But there
Mhm.
are lots of great women in the field. It's just that there are
Mhm.
very few. So if we
Yes, so
can
true. So true.
so if we can increase like representability, like how many women get into the field, and make it easier to for them to see there are women in the field, there aren't only men. It's going to be easier for them to get into the field. So this is like one of the things. But apart from that, when it comes to the professional setting,
Yeah.
you do face discrimination, especially if it's from someone that doesn't have the healthy mindset. What I mean by that is that if they think that gender affects performance,
Yeah.
they're most likely going to want to replace a women with a man, for example, in this
Yeah.
kind of, let's call it a sensitive or
Mm.
advanced field, because
Yeah.
they believe that usually men are actually way more logical than women.
Oh.
So they would want to have more men than women. Well, obviously it's not true. Actually, women
Yes,
are
that's
way
true.
better at maths
Yeah.
than the male than their male counterparts. But it's all right. We this is just perception. This is just like what is already like seen in society. Also
Yeah.
remember that, for example, for countries like us that have low to middle income,
Yeah.
there is the problem of certainty. So for example, your parents, they only know three things, like become a doctor, an engineer, and what's the third thing? I don't know.
Lawyer. Lawyer.
Lawyer, finance, or something like that. So they want
Yeah.
something that is like that is risk free, right?
Yeah.
Everyone does it, and everyone has some success. So if you tell them you're doing this new thing called AI, artificial intelligence, they're gonna say, "Wait, what is that? Wait, what? What? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Is are there jobs in this field?" You're like, a little bit, especially if it's locally, like they will want you to have a job locally because you're
Yeah.
their child, right? They want to
Yeah.
see you every day.
Yeah.
If you tell them no, I'm gonna have to, go to
Yeah.
some other country or work remotely. Oh my god, if you tell them you work remotely, they will freak out. Especially
Yeah.
especially in our country.
Yeah. I think that's common to, let me say, across Africa, because that's like
Yeah.
the same narrative in
Like
Uganda.
for example, for men, what do
Yeah.
they do usually? Like for their parents, they tell them, "I'm working." They don't tell them
Yeah.
where they're working or how they're working. But women know. They tell them, "I am working and doing this, and I need to do this." So they talk more to their parents. They share more with their parents. Men,
Yeah.
they know not to share because they will freak their parents out.
Yeah. Yeah. uh, so interesting. I think we really need to change that narrative
Yes,
and
I agree.
bring stronger bridges
Yeah,
and show them that AI is actually
yeah,
a
I
field
agree.
to bring us
So
to the future.
it's like you said, it's not enough to teach us, the people who are going to do the job. We need also to educate the society, our parents and other people, to let them know that you know AI is really super cool, and if your kid is working on AI, then they're super cool too. They're the next doctor, engineer, or lawyer you want to have.
And I think with as time goes on and the field advances more, same with the technical qualifications needed, because at some point you may find, okay, currently you find we need masters or a
Yeah,
PhD to like qualify for a role, and I think with time even the qualifications will become tighter. So if there's an open window of diving in when you still can before the qualifications are tight, definitely that's a plus.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I think I'll go to my next question
Go
that
ahead.
that I had. You hinted about conferences, and I'm into networking a lot. So I wanted to ask, how effective do you do network? Get to collaborate for the conferences you've attended, and who would you encourage? Developers and different people into AI. To try to utilize that and opportunities there.
So actually, like, if you can, because sometimes this might be expensive, right? Especially if you need to travel abroad or something to meet people, it might be expensive. So let's go to the basic stuff first. So I'm sure, like, just right now, where we have internet, right? Like, practically almost everyone has internet, thank God. Although not everyone, obviously, but most of us have internet. So the easiest ways is to just research communities out there online. There are really awesome, super awesome communities that you can join right now, and get to talk with other people that share the same interests as you, collaborate with them, and do really super cool stuff, right? So this is like the easiest way to do it. If you can, I invite you to not only interact online but also try and attend these events in person, if there are any in your neighborhood, or if you can, and if you have the means, if you can
Yeah.
travel to conferences and attend them, that will be way bigger, because it would like kind of let people know in a broader sense that you exist, because that's what conference is actually about, just to let people know you exist and to share with them and to learn different perspectives from other people, not not locally but also internationally. So how can you do all of these things, right? So the best way to do it is that, like, a lot of great, if you have, let's say, what is the field that excites you, Benjamin?
Actually, it's healthcare too.
Okay.
Currently, I've been doing a project for of my final year,
Hmm.
and it was dealing with osteoarthritis. It's a degenerative disease for the joints, and
That's nice.
currently we were been focusing on the knee, and the knee moves in one plane direction, and
Hmm.
we were trying to utilize the angle flexion of the knee, and
That's
yeah,
nice.
trying to. So we designed a wearable that
Hmm.
relaying data to mobile application, but then we're still trying to find the right way to incorporate AI to
Into
utilize
them.
this data for
I see. I see. That looks like a cool project. So
yeah.
seeing as, so for example, as you told me, healthcare is your interest.
Hmm.
So what would I do if it was me? So, for example, I would go to LinkedIn or Twitter. Usually, researchers hang around a lot more in Twitter. Professionals hang a lot more in LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So, if I'm interested in researchers, for example, I
Hmm.
would like go to the Google Scholar or any kind of research browser, and then search for keywords. Like, for example, here, what I'm going to do is that artificial intelligence, and I will use Artitis, right?
Hmm.
Artitis, and
Yeah.
then
Osteoarthritis.
I would, that's it. I will use these two words and research and see like the top papers I like. Go over all the papers. If artificial intelligence keyword doesn't work, go
Hmm.
find the another work like deep learning, machine learning, or some kind of specific technique you're working on.
Yeah.
This will help me, like, for example, for your project, it will help you figure out how you can use artificial intelligence in your project based on what other people did. And even like you can start playing around with their solutions if they are making them available open source. It will also allow you know who's doing this cool stuff, right? Who's doing it and who you can connect to. I highly advise you to connect with people who are still young. So if you can like, if you get their name, all the authors, search for them in Twitter or LinkedIn, right? Or just Google them so you can quickly find their social media profiles and start interacting with them. So let them know you read their papers and here are the cool stuff you like. Here are the things that you find might be like have some questions around, stuff that you think would be like could be improved based on what you are doing. So share with them. It's like you're having a conversation with me right now, right? You don't know
yeah,
me, I don't know you, but we have something in common. We're both
yeah,
interested in artificial intelligence and in healthcare. So we can have conversations around that as a start. So start having conversations with these people. Along the line, if they're interested to, connect with you and perhaps collaborate with you, especially if they like your ideas, they will invite you to, collaborate with them on a project, or you could like do a blog post around something. You could like do this, like interview them online or something cool like this. You
yeah,
might even like start your own podcast around artificial intelligence in healthcare and invite
yeah,
these kind of people to share their experiences, right?
yeah, yeah,
Online. So
yeah,
you could do all kinds of different stuff to connect with people and get to know them. So the
mm,
more you talk to people and let them know you're interested in what they are doing, not what you are doing, it's
yeah,
easier to attract their interest, right?
yeah,
So do that actively. Like don't do it over just Twitter and with researchers. You can go find interesting profiles in LinkedIn. That's what I do. Like I do you think I do anything like different? I just like go to a profile. I'm like, yeah, this person is interesting, and I send them a connection request or I follow their content and interact with it daily. Right? If for example there's someone's work I really like, I might just reach out to them over to this LinkedIn thing. Now, if you're part of a community, there are a bunch of amazing people in communities. They're more ready to help and do lots of crazy stuff. So if
yeah,
you're interested in organizing an event or talking with them about something or doing some kind of work, they will be way more open to do it with you than a stranger, obviously, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
they are easier to talk with. So start with your community. If you can meet them in person and talk with them in person, that's really cool. That's obviously better because we human being like in person
yeah,
interactions. Otherwise, you can do it online, right? You can like reach out to them and tell them, hey, I really love your post or something they shared, or perhaps if they did the talk, reach out as well and let them know, that you're interested, that you're doing this new cool thing and you would like to get their opinion, or you would like to work with them to work on their stuff or something like that. So just show interest, act like a normal human being. I like something, I go ask about it to this person, just in a nice way.
I think that's like the same kind of strategy I use to like reaching out to you
Yeah.
and being able to get on this call finally.
Yeah.
I think let me go to the next question, and I wanted to ask, how do you balance your technical expertise in AI
Mhm.
together with your, let me say, soft skills like communication, leadership? Yeah, yeah,
So I believe like you already know by now that I have volunteered in a lot of projects, right? With Amdena, with Front Punch AI, any kind of communities.
yes,
So usually when you're collaborating in these kind of settings or volunteering, you get to do this, with a team. Or if you're part of a hackathon or a challenge, you get together, you figure out like a couple of people, you get together and you work like on a project. So this is where you have teamwork playing in, you have leadership coming in, right? So leadership is just one person kind of like helping steer the direction of a project in some certain way. So, if, for example, you have leadership traits, if it's something that comes naturally to you, you will find yourself naturally, being proactive. That means suggesting ideas you can work on, suggesting, kind of like improvement. It's like you're leading the discussion and leading where it is going. If people are agreeing with you, obviously, because if you want to be a leader, you need people that are going to be impressed by what you're doing, or at least are agree to do what you want to do, right?
yeah, yeah,
So this is like how it is. So how I actually like balance both of these, i just I kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, we're in a project. I don't like say, I'm going to be the leader. No, that's not really how I do it. It's just like we
Mm.
get together and
Yeah.
I try to understand what we could work on. Like
Mm.
for example, if we're in a hackathon, what kind of solution can we provide? How does my two, for example, teammates think about this solution? What would be best? So I kind of like act like a facilitator, but
Mm.
whenever a problem arises, I'm the first one to think of a solution.
Yeah.
Whenever for example, we know we are slacking off, we're not doing anything, I'm the first one to tell them it's time to do the work. So it's like you're a parent to a
Yeah.
child. You can think of it the same thing. You're a parent to your team, so you need to take care of them and kind of like guide them through the journey, even though you are lost yourself, right? You don't know what to
Mm.
do with them as well, but you need to show that the what we call the leadership. That means you
Yeah.
need to step up and do the things that all of us needs, but no one is willing to do
Mm.
for everyone. So
Yeah.
this is like how around leadership. Now around the other soft skills that mean like communication, like talking about
Yes.
your work and all of that. So this comes, although this doesn't come naturally to everyone, right?
Yes.
But usually if you want to develop it as a skill, for example, start learning to share your ideas. You know, if you're in a community and let's say for example they're talking about a topic, try to get involved in the discussion. So if they're sharing their opinion, make sure for example to comment. So just start very very simple and very slow. Just start sharing your opinions. You can start with text and then later on you can go ahead and share it in voice, for example if they're doing a meeting
Yeah.
in for example video format. Just start
Mm.
very slowly until you feel comfortable sharing
Yeah.
your idea in a big audience. So if you start slow, it's going to be easier to remove the remove the fear of talking to people in public. But if you go like from the first day you want to talk, for example, about your idea in front of everyone, of course you're going to be freaking out.
Yeah.
That's
That's
normal.
so true.
Even if you're like a seasoned speaker, if
Yeah.
it's something that is new to you and you have never done it, you will freak out. That's normal. It's because you didn't prepare anything. You have no idea what you're supposed to be saying. But if you speak about things regularly, like even with your
Yeah.
parents, if you're like discussing something with your parents every day, it's
Yeah.
easier to talk to them about anything. But you never spoke to them, and then one day you want to tell them something, you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? You see?
Yeah.
It's the same. So what I invite everyone to do is just to try and get into this community thing. Try to get into a community and start to become a member
Yeah.
the community and try to become later on an event organizer. Like start helping and organize event with them. Start getting into this community thing, and do cool stuff with them. This is going to be helping you like improve all of your soft skills, and it's
Mm.
going to help you understand, you know, kind of like the basic principles of business as well. That is
Yeah.
like leadership, leading a team. When you have a task to take care of and you have time limits, that is project management. And
Mm.
then you will learn the art of social media, how to write posters, how to let people know about an event. So you will be learning a bunch of really interesting skills that you will need today, tomorrow, or
Yeah.
in your career in general.
Yeah. You talked about hackathons,
Yeah,
and I have participated in a few here and there.
that's
Wanted to know
cool.
your experience in them because I know definitely you've been in some or judged to one of them. Yeah. What lessons, things you have to say about them?
Yeah. So I actually like participated in different hackathons thanks to the AI Wonder Girls. So the AI Wonder Girls is a bunch of ladies interested in AI. We get together and then we do a hackathon challenge or like work on a project together. So it's kind of like a community right now. So what I can give as a so this is what I learned. from like not just hackathons, but also like from one of the incubators I have been part of. It's that whenever you're doing something, whatever it is, figure out what people want from you. So in
Yeah.
a hackathon, they tell you exactly what they want from you. So there is a judging criteria, usually. They tell you we're interested in like developing AI solutions, for example, for healthcare. This is like an example. And like if they provide you for healthcare, sometimes they provide you what they're interested in specifically. For example, for
Yeah.
disease diagnosis, not for prognosis, not for anything apart from this. So they're very specific about what they want. So first, know what they want from you.
Mm.
Second, know how you can solve, how you research the problems. So if they tell you diagnose a disease, a certain disease, let's say for example COVID-19. So in COVID-19, what type of stuffs do we what type of problems do we have that we can use AI to solve in this diagnosis? So diagnosing COVID-19 comes through different from like you have a certain modality, right? Chest X-ray, for example.
Yeah.
Does this person have COVID or not? This is like the basic task. There are
Yeah.
things like not just the detection of not just COVID or not COVID, but more
Mm.
like where does this COVID show up?
Okay.
In the chest X-ray, in which areas? How does it show up? Sometimes
Mm.
it might be like we have tabular data with different information about the patient. How can we use that tabular data to figure out if someone has COVID and what
Yeah.
stage of COVID he or she is at, right? So this get creative and then figure
Yeah.
out what's the thing that mostly everyone is not going to think of.
Mm. So true.
So you need to differentiate yourself. And differentiating yourself doesn't have to be something out of the out of the box. Just
Yeah.
it might be something small. Let's say for
Mm.
example you're developing this COVID-19 detector for women that are pregnant. That's very specific,
Yeah.
right? So the more specific you are and the more you know very 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 very, very interesting
Mm.
what you're tackling is, the
Yes.
highest chance you have of actually winning the hackathon or challenge. It's that
Oh.
easy. It's like the
Mm.
business world. The
Yeah.
more specific the people you're targeting are, the more specific this solution you're providing to them is, or how good it is at solving the problems this specific target has, the most likely chance you will get customers and get your pay.
Oh.
It's very easy. It's 100% business. The word is 100%
Yeah.
business.
I was actually about to ask next your business acumen, and you've already answered it. So I think I wanted to ask also, how was your journey to being a Google developer expert,
Expert.
say in
Yeah.
machine learning? How your journey was? As you said, you've been into community, done a lot of voluntary work. Yeah, communities. Mm.
So what I advise you to do is, I think I already said this like in another life, but yeah, I'm gonna say it once again. But I don't think people believe me when I tell them that. So don't try to become X. That's most likely gonna fail most of the time. More like do something you really like and keep
Mm.
doing it and then see if there is any kind of opportunity that you align with. I'm just going to give you an example. So when I started being active in the community, what I really wanted is like just to use my skills to do some good, something meaningful. I wasn't trying to save the world or anything like that. I just wanted to be able to do something with my skills that can help someone,
Yeah.
right? So and I wanted to improve my AI skills. So that's what I did. I got to use AI. I just used AI to do volunteering in solving challenges. And challenges like I really cared about, something that I found nice, would be interested in learning about. And then when it comes to sharing my experience and speaking and all of that, I did it just to let people. So I was like, when I was trying to learn to get into the field and learn about it, it was really hard for me to know which kind of resource I should check out, right? So I was like, I really don't want people to have the same struggles I had. So what I did, I just like started, sharing my experience with other people, right? So when I wanted to learn machine learning, here's what I did. Well, here's where I failed, here's what I succeeded, right?
Yeah.
And here is what I think would be better if I had to redo it. This is just like what I was doing. So do something that you care about deeply and then look after if there is anything that aligns with it. So for example, the GDE, I learned about the GDE program through a very young lady. She was doing Flutter, and I read her blog post, and then she was saying, you know, she was talking about her journey, how she got to be a GDE in Flutter, right? And that's how actually it was. Yeah, that would be really cool to get something like this. Like, if I get this recognition, that means I'm doing a great job. So that's how I looked at it. I didn't look at it as something to get, but as something to validate my, the efforts I was doing to, like kind of feel like, yay, I did something. That is actually useful, you see. So that's actually it. Just when for example, when you're doing lots of great work,
Uh-huh.
and you find and you figure out that some work is really valuable, you think our work is valuable,
Yeah.
and you think it's worth publishing it somewhere, then go look for an opportunity to publish it with a magazine, with a in a conference, in a research conference. So it's like when you do the work and you feel like you need something to validate that work, or you need to, you know kind of have something to back you up, to show that you're, an expert, or to show that you're reached a certain level, go search for it, you see. But do the work first. Like, do it because you like it, because you really want to do it, not because you want to become this, because after you become that, it's not going to be fun anymore.
Mm. Definitely, more work has to continue to keep the process
Yeah.
recurring.
So do something you like, and then, you can think of these titles like decorations. When you have a gift, usually you have the gift wrapper, and then, the thing that ties it all up. But the real thing is the gift, right? So work on the gift, and then you can figure out the wrapper.
Yeah. Earlier you talked about, if you're new to the field,
Yeah.
uh, you should definitely like reach out to people who are currently into the domain that you want. Try to read the papers and reach out to them with talking about the topics that you've read and what you've liked. Uh, what approach do you think? Uh, are there any other strategies they would use for like newbies into AI, or they should just stick to that, or
What do you mean? What's the question exactly?
well, I mean, other than doing that of reading papers in their domain field and
Hmm.
reaching out to their mentors,
Hmm.
what else should they do besides that, to become better in the field and up themselves?
Yeah, I see. So, one of the things I think would be really interesting is to kind of like figure out how you can provide value in your field. So, let's say, for example, you have read a couple of, I don't know, blog posts, research papers, or podcasts, or watched videos around that field of yours. Figure out how you can help in that field, or figure out something you really like, and you think if we just added this one simple tiny thing, it would make it better. So, kind of like, if you like a certain solution, at first try to replicate that solution, right? Try to see if you can build the same solution first, and then figure out how you can improve it. That tiny little thing that if you add it will be interesting, or if
Yeah.
you're curious about something, if you're curious to answer some kind of specific questions, right? Let's say, for example, someone did, I don't know, they did a comparative study of some kind of models, right? But then you're like, what if we put this what if we compare this model with this new model out there? What will be the, what will be the results? So do that, like get that new model, try to make it work with the data, and then compare it with it. So just think of it like you're quenching your curiosity. Get curious about something, figure out how you can, whatever questions come through your brain when you're doing it, or whatever suggestions that your brain is wondering about, and test them. Go ahead and do these tests, go ahead and try this kind of experiments. And when you finish, and when everything is working, and when you get your answer, the answer might be good or bad, right? Talk about it, right? Let people
Yeah.
know there was this cool experiment you did, and here's how it turned out. That helps you build your personal brand and your visibility, in people's mind. People will remember you as an expert in X because you're always sharing this thing with them, right? They know you're always trying new stuff, for example. So that's practically it. Like, don't, and like later on when you have tried different experiments, by a certain time, like a certain point, you will start producing your own stuff. It's like you will start to be able to suggest new improvements from the experience you got. And that's where you actually, reach the first step in expertise, right? Where you can develop your own solution and have it like solve other people's problems. At that point, when you're in that point, I suggest you start thinking about a business, especially if you come up with something interesting and people might really like want to use it. So start thinking about how you can make it into a business, right?
Yeah.
Turn it into a business venture that people can, use your solution to solve some kind of problems. Sell it to other businesses perhaps, or other people who would be interested in that solution.
Speaking of, you've talked about making new things, then possibly a business. Where do you see yourself, in the time to come? Say 5 years, 10, after your PhD, yeah, yeah.
So I'm thinking of, right now I'm thinking of actually, going into this consultancy world. I did the McKinsey and company forwards program, if you ever heard of it. It's a really cool program that shows you how to do problem solving, like structured problem solving. And then
Yeah.
they teach you how you can best walk people through digitalization. And then there is this thing, they also teach you how to present your work to a business set of people, not just to random people, because that's very different. So they kind of like teach you all of these amazing consultancy skills. So I was thinking of doing this, my own thing, and being like a consultant and like helping people solve their business challenges using AI,
Yeah.
and all of kind of like my using all of my knowledge. That's kind of thing that I want to pursue. Well, let's see how it's going to turn out. I have no idea how it's going to, but this is like the journey I want to get into next.
Oh, so definitely, I'm sure you're taking some courses or something on consultancy.
No, that's like the McKinsey and Forward program is a great program into like how you can do consultancy. There's no need to I don't think there is a need for you to take any other program if you took theirs, because they walk you through all the stuffs you need to learn. But apart from that, one of the things I did was like I took the coaching for businesses from the Evercoach Mind Valley program. CBC program, and that's where they teach us about business, like how to make a business work, how a business works first, all components of it, and then how to make it work after it breaks. Because like business, like in life, we face many challenges, and if you know how to overcome them, you can like move to the next level. So that's, I guess, like these two are like my super new powers. Oh, you're on mute. Benjamin, you're on mute.
Right. So, sorry. I actually I think what universities are trying to fight currently is, other than doing the research, how are they producing, research to production? They're trying to
Yeah,
uh, increase that pipeline.
I agree. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do.
What's to say about that? Because I think maybe university may be trying to move that backlog, and yeah, my university here, it's just starting to put a lot of efforts into taking research to production. I don't
Mhm.
know how it is there.
So we do have that. We do have that plan in my university as well. They talked to us about it in 2023, like the last couple of months. I think it was back in. Let me remember. It was around June or something like that, where no, way before June. I think it was around like April or something like that. They started to talk about, you know, how the new plan is more about doing research that is actually going to be helpful not to business only, but like to our government and to our society. So they started like to invite us to actually work on subjects that are very helpful to solve problems that we have locally in Morocco, and
Yeah,
obviously like internationally as well.
yeah,
I think it's a good initiative because it's not nice either for the budget or for the country if we work on something that no one is going to that no one is going to use, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
useless to waste time doing things that don't help anyone, not even you.
yeah, yeah,
But the problem is that we need money, and that is
yeah.
like the real challenge. So I
Mm,
mean, it's nice to dream about doing useful solutions, but the problem is that why do we go do the useless ones? Because they
mm,
don't require much investments from our part, right? The problem
yeah.
is that these days they don't provide you the money and they want you to do something useful. That's the real challenge,
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest issues, resources
especially in
facing.
our countries. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Sarah, I think most of my questions have been answered, and
that's great.
we've been able to have a wonderful discussion.
Same here. Thank you for all the questions and for being here.
Yeah, thank you for your time too. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank
Definitely
you
hoping we shall keep in touch.
for sure. Feel free to reach out whenever you want.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Well, have a great time.
Thank you, thank you. This is recorded.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So thank you everyone for showing up. Well, if you show up, if you watch this later, please feel free to leave us a comment or feel free to reach out as well. And if you have any questions or you want to organize a session like we did with Benjamin today, then feel free to reach out. Thank you everyone. Have a great day. Thanks a lot, Benjamin, and see you, I guess, next time perhaps.
yeah. Sure. Bye bye.
See you.